Our theme this month, as you just heard, is living in spiritual integrity. And today's topic, as you just heard, are you seeking a spiritual life or is it seeking you? I mentioned to those of you who were here last week that I had just read an article in the March edition of our Science of Mind magazine titled The Art of Spiritual Integrity. And I decided in that moment to choose to do a series this month on living in spiritual integrity. But it wasn't until I began researching some additional materials for this talk that I realized the piece in the magazine was written by Reverend Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones, a longtime acquaintance of mine and the author of The Art of Being, which I have shared with you many times on Sunday morning, as well as he has several other titles out now as well. The next synchronous thing that happened was an email came from Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, the spiritual director of Centers for Spiritual Living. And he was sharing some materials from talks on integrity by two of our centers on the mainland. One of them in Arlington, Virginia, from Reverend Trish Hall, and the other in Columbus, Ohio, from Reverend Molly Cameron. Well, says me, what a pipeline. Gosh, I know all of these people, and they're all talking about integrity. So March must be the month to talk about integrity, wherever we are and whoever we are. Dr. Ken's focus this month is to be truthful in facts and motives. And he begins by defining what integrity means in that regard. That integrity is the truth of who you are, who we are, who I am. The fact of our lives, which is attached to spirit and results in an authentic life of wholeness and joy. And when we are out of integrity, so to speak, we create our own conflict, our own separation, our own illness, our own problems, and so on, and so on, and so on. You heard a little bit of that in Standing in the Light this morning, didn't you? Ernest Holmes was heard to say that the science of mind is a point of view which aligns completely with the dictionary definition of integrity. That state of being whole and undivided. So here are some of the qualities of integrity. Truthfulness, responsible, loyalty, self-awareness, assertiveness, balance, reliability, and undoubtedly several more which are important to you in your life. So let's explore how that shows up in our spiritual lives. To begin with, each of us must ask ourselves this question: what am I seeking in a spiritual life? Because what I am seeking is seeking me. And by that I mean it's already in existence in the creative energy of the universe. It awaits my acknowledgement and my acceptance of its availability to me. It awaits my acknowledgement and acceptance of its willingness to share that with me. And here's the biggie, folks, my deservedness to accept, receive, use, and retain it in integrity. Today's topic is taken from a quote: "What you seek is seeking you." And the quote was originally penned by Rumi, a 13th century Persian poet, jurist, Islamic scholar, theologian, and Sufi mystic. It's a complex idea, and it can be understood in many ways depending on your perspective. But the one thing that is common in all is a reminder that the things we desire are not that difficult to be achieved, if only we remember and are willing to change ourselves. The things we desire are seeking us in the same way we are seeking them, maybe even more. Otherwise, we could not have even introduced them into our imagination. We can only see what is present in our thinking, that which is a part of us. Trying to understand Rumi's beautiful words is not always easy, let alone to agree on their meaning. But that's the beauty of it. It means something different to each one of us, but the core message is the same, which is what connects us. And when we apply that to our spiritual life, there is that moment when we have the aha, that what is seeking me is not just a thing, not just a person, not just a thought or an action. It's also the very source of my being, offering me unlimited resources and joy. And my contribution to this? Integrity in my acceptance, my utilization, and my appreciation of it. The mold of acceptance, Holmes reminds us, is the measure of our experience. The infinite fills all molds and forever flows into new and greater ones. Within us is the unborn possibility of limitless experience. Ours is the privilege of giving birth to it. Wow. You know, when I went back and read those last 4 sentences as I wrote this talk, it gave me chicken skin. So let me share it with you again. See if I can give you chicken skin. The mold of acceptance, Holmes reminds us, is the measure of our experience. The infinite fills all molds and forever flows into new and greater ones. Within us is the unborn possibility of limitless experience. And ours is the privilege of giving birth to all of it. And this gives even greater meaning to Lao Chu's quote in Dennis's article in the Science of Mind magazine. And the quote was, "Why separate your spiritual life and your practical life? To an integral being, there is no such distinction." Wow, that's food for thought, isn't it? To live a whole life, Dennis writes, is to live with integral integrity. That is, to allow our oneness with the whole of God to spill over equally into every part of our lives. Realizing this truth can be a life-altering experience because how we see ourselves, that is, to allow our oneness with the whole of God to spill over equally into every part of our lives. By that we are forever changed. And life becomes then one of spiritual integrity. In Holmes' book, The Magic of the Mind, he reminds us that what we want, we already have. Meaning that there is already that within us that provides us with the means by which we access and activate it. The only question is, what is our responsibility in the use of divine mind for our own purposes? And the answer is clear to any one of us practicing the art of and science of metaphysics. In our case, the science of mind. Our great responsibility to ourselves and to our source of being is to use it in the manner in which it is intended to be used. That is, to be creative and respectful of the ideas which flow to us from divine mind. It's like, pay attention, listen up. Another way of saying that is to exercise spiritual integrity in every one of our actions for our own well-being and the well-being of those around us. The science of mind point of view aligns completely with the dictionary definition of integrity, the state of being whole and undivided. We understand this on the universal level and particularize it on the local level or the individual level. Since God is equally present in and as all of its creation, each individual is already an expression of integrity that is demonstrated through honesty, compassion, forthrightness, generosity, and strength of character. We must also remember, though, that we are imbued with volition, the power of choice, which can sometimes be used to opt out of integrity and make choices that do not serve our own best interests or the interests of those around us. The value in knowing that is that what we are looking for, we are looking with and looking at. So in that formula that we talk about regularly in our classes and sometimes touch on briefly here on Sunday mornings, the formula of involution, volition, evolution, applied to the realization that what we are looking for, we are looking with and looking at. That simply translates to what I am accepting for myself, filtered through the choices that I make, results in the evolution of my life. And because spirit, my source of being, is not something apart from matter, but is something working through matter, the potential possibility of what we call the highest and the lowest is inherent in everything. They're not different things. They're the same thing functioning at different levels of consciousness. Hence the importance of practicing my spiritual integrity in every moment of this thing called life. To live a whole life is to live with integral integrity. That is to allow our oneness with the whole of God to spill over equally in every part of our lives. So the question posed by the title of this talk this morning, are you seeking a spiritual life or is it seeking you? The answer is yes. At some level, every spiritual being having a physical experience is seeking an authentic life of wholeness and joy. And every one of us is inextricably connected to our source of being. That creative expression is always seeking to express by means of each one of us. First individually, and as our willingness to receive it, use it, and retain it matures, we are able to express it around us in every area of our life experience. Holmes refers to that process as utilizing the creative currents of our thought. In the coming Sundays of this month, I'll talk more about that, the creative currents of our thought. It has to do with how we protect our thoughts and ourselves. It addresses how we analyze, dissect, and decide what to accept in our thoughts and our actions. This true spiritual work strengthens us without exhausting it and results in peaceful experiences as we honor our own internal principles and wholeness. And so it is.